This meeting of the Fox River Valley Public Library District of Trustees will be held without a quorum of trustees physically present, but is authorized by the Governor of Illinois pursuant to COVID-19 Executive Order Number 5, dated March 16, 2020, and subsequent reissues, as well as the Governor's Emergency Administrative Act dated June 12, 2020. As board president, I have determined an in-person meeting is not prudent at this time due to the coronavirus pandemic that the governor has declared a disaster. I have also determined that it is not feasible due to the disaster and the disaster declaration to have a library trustee, the library director, or the library's attorney present at the library. A verbatim recording of this meeting will be made available to the public. Public notice. Due to the current public health concerns and extension of the governor's stay-at-home mandate by Executive Order 2020-33 and subsequent reissues, this meeting is being conducted electronically. Anyone wishing to observe and/or comment must email libraryboard@foxriver-valley-public-library-district.info no later than 12 p.m. on Tuesday, April 20th, and will receive online access to the meeting. If you do not have electronic access and would like to make a public statement, you can call the library at 847-428-3661 before 5 p.m. on Tuesday, April 20th, and leave a message indicating that you would like your message to be read into the record during the public comments section of the meeting. Each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes. A recording of this meeting will be available on the library's website by Friday, April 30th. Okay, with that, I would like to call the meeting of the Fox River Valley Public Library District Board of Trustees meeting for April 20th, 2021 to order. I have it at 7:02. Can we have the flag up, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance? Everyone please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone to our April meeting. Nikki, could we have a roll call, please? See who's here.
Dave.
Here.
Chris.
Here.
Mike.
Here.
Brian.
Here.
Nikki is here. Christina.
Here.
And Richard.
Here. Okay, thank you. First order of business is public comment. The board recognizes its responsibility to provide an opportunity for anyone wishing to comment at any meeting to do so. Due to the current public health concerns, the April 20th, 2021 meeting will be conducted electronically. Any person viewing the meeting online and/or wishing to comment will be accommodated in accordance with the public notice that I read a few moments ago. And citizens will not be required to sign in to comment. And each speaker will be allowed 5 minutes. So is anyone on the telephone that would like to make a public comment?
No.
Is anyone with us on this Zoom call that would like to make a comment?
No.
Has anyone left any messages on the library's email system or telephone recorder with any type of message?
No.
Okay. Then we'll move on to the next item, which is the president's report. Okay, well, Tonight's meeting will mostly be spent saying thank you to the outgoing board members for their service to our library district. We have Brian, has 8 years of service with us, Mike 4 years, and Nikki 4 years as well. And I think we should always keep in mind that this board, and indeed our library district, would not operate without residents who are willing to step up and serve on this all-volunteer board of trustees. Mike, Brian, and Nikki have all demonstrated that willingness to serve our library community. Through their continued leadership and commitment, our library have seen many improvements to the day-to-day operation of the library, the ongoing public engagement of our library, and the overall quality of our services provided by the library. They deserve our thanks and appreciation for truly a job well done. Later in the meeting, we'll pass resolutions that officially recognizes each for their service and accomplishments. But at the outset, I would like to offer my personal thanks. You guys have been wonderful board members, very supportive, very frank and honest with your discussions, and I personally very appreciate it very much. I think it's made us stop and think before we cast a vote, and gave us an opportunity to take and maybe rethink an issue that we thought was pretty straightforward. So thank you very much for your service, and wish you well going forward. Okay, next item. At our May meeting, we'll be seating the newly elected board members. Marion and Matt will have you take your oath of office just prior to the start of the May meeting. We'll have one of the library's notary publics handle the administration of the oath of office, and then you'll be immediately seated as a full board member when we call the meeting to order.
Okay.
So that'll take care of that. Also, in accordance with our bylaws, as president, it's my duty to appoint 2 continuing trustees to develop a slate of candidates for the offices of president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. This slate of candidates will be submitted to the board at the May meeting. In addition, the president pro tem will entertain any other officer nominations from any board member. Once all nominations are made, the secretary pro tem will take a roll call vote. Any officer position that has more than 1 nomination will be voted on separately. Otherwise, the slate will be voted on in its entirety. So we'll handle that as one of the first items of business when we begin the May meeting. So I'd like to ask Christina and Chris to be those 2 trustees to develop a slate of candidates. Christina and Chris, are you willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then we'll report on that at the next meeting. Also, I think I lost somebody. There we go. Pushed the wrong button for a moment. Also, any trustee, including our new trustees, who are interested in serving as an officer, I would ask you to make your wishes known to Christina or Chris prior to the May meeting. Next item, you've probably seen that we've opened the search for a 7th board member. Our hope is to have a list of interested residents available for the new board president to begin interviewing after the May meeting. Our goal is to have a candidate to recommend to the board at our June meeting. So hopefully during the June meeting, we'll have a full board of 7 by that time.
Richard, is that for
Yes.
a fill-in or is that for a full 4 years?
It's for a 2-year term until the next election.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they hold their office until the next election. Then they have to run in their own right.
Thank you.
Richard,
yes.
does that means that we would have, what, 4 of us running for election?
No, it's going to be 5.
5.
It's going to be a very unusual situation.
Yeah.
The only 2 that will not have to run again are Matt and Mary Ann. The ones that were just elected on this cycle. I think because Dave, you're on a 2-year term.
Right.
And my term ends in 2 years. So, you know, we're going to be looking at 5 members.
Okay.
So it's going to be a situation, I think.
That's all right.
Well, we'll deal with it. Finally, I'd like to ask Christina to give us an update on where we are with the director search. Christina?
Sure. We have received inquiries from a few interested candidates, so that's good. And past couple of weeks, Chris, Roxanne, and I have been looking at the interview questions and really trying to put the final touches on crafting those and deciding which interview questions would work well in the first round of interviews and which would work well in the final round of interviews. I just want to say Chris has done an extraordinary amount of work on this, and she's done an amazing job. So I really want to point out just how awesome everything she's done on that has been. Roxanne is working on solidifying interview questions that the staff will ask in a staff round of interviews, where we'll have librarians and managers and support staff, you know, do one interview before or after the final interview, you know, all in one day. So that's basically it. We're working on making sure that we have our screening expectations all set and that the interview questions really align with the survey results from the staff and the management and the trustees, so that everything is very purposeful.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions for Christina about that? About her report? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Christina. You guys are doing a great job. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Brian, did you have something or did you just unmute?
Yeah, no, nothing, Christina, just unmuted.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay, that's all I have. Economic interest statements, I think everybody's attending to those, so don't need to go any further on that. Roxanne, director's report.
All right. You all got the, you know, I've seen the department head reports, my written report, and the dashboard. We were delighted to to be able to stop quarantining materials recently, and that's allowing us to kind of begin clearing things out of the meeting room, because that was the main spot where we were managing the quarantine process. So that's and I think people have really enjoyed being able to return things in the sorter in addition to the staff using them. So and then the returns at Randall Oaks continue to come back faster than they had before, now that the book drop is back. So I think I had sent those 2 pieces of information out to you, but they're not in the written reports because they happened afterwards. Anyway, any questions about what's in the written reports?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say, as this was my last one, amazing job, everyone. Again, that's always my favorite part. It's just, I love reading it and all the things that we're doing. And I just wanted to point out, I love, Kirsten, that you're doing the newsletter to the legislators. I think that is a really great idea. I mean, there's so many things in here. I always want to pick out a bunch of stuff, but that one was like, I actually put like an exclamation point. I'm like, that is so smart. Like, get them knowing what we're doing. So thank you to everyone. All of you, amazing. So thank you.
I would just like to add to that. When I was going through the report, all the different reports, when Richard and Roxanne first interviewed me as a possible fill-in, one of the things I said was that I really felt what was lacking in our library was the community outreach. And as I went through this report, I actually got a little teary because my husband and I were just talking about how difficult it is for a Hispanic community to get legal assistance, and the fact that we're partnershiping, and I won't say this right, Alianza Hispano Americana, which is partners with the DOJ, and giving immigration support made me teary. I love that we are reaching out. I love the Easter basket thing. I love the Spanish program and going to the community grocery stores to let people know what's going on. You guys rocked it this time. It was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, we have the Alianza Hispania Americana was a new partner for us this year. We have in the past worked with Centro de Información out of Elgin, and we have been doing that type of assistance for some time, but recently haven't been able to. So we're really excited to have this new partner and to be able to start up something slowly. We are also talking with Centro de Información about doing some additional things with them as well. They've been housed in, they were housed in 611, the building that the Dundee Township is in on 72, and have not been able to serve clients in our area at all during COVID. And they have, some money, new grant money available. And so we're looking at ways that we can help them reach back out to the area in Carpentersville as well. So we really expect to have, more than one partner helping us with this particular type of outreach.
Oh, I did have one question for John on the innovative mobile app. It says they're offering this to all the libraries in the consortium for a cost. So is that something we're doing, or it wasn't quite clear on that?
Not sure what you mean by we're doing. I basically attended a webinar that was hosted by CCS, which is the consortium, and they basically were showing the app and how it worked, and the offer is that they are looking for libraries in the consortium to move ahead with the project if we wanted to, but there is a cost, and the cost is in the director's report from that. I didn't go to that meeting, but it would be a director's report for the CCS group. And I don't know if I noted it on my report, but that's information that we can get.
Yeah, I've not seen a cost yet. And we just had a governing board meeting. So
It looks like a very cool app.
It does.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed.
So it'd be something, it's something in the future. It's not something that's happening right now. That's what I wasn't clear on, is that it was a demo and then there's a cost, but I didn't know if that meant it's available now, we're doing it. Oh, that kind of stuff.
It's not available now. CCS is looking at it as a consortium. And one of the challenges with coming up with a cost is that they have to determine how many libraries would be participating, because I don't believe that they have a quote. They were looking for feedback on the, from directors, but there are a lot of libraries that already have an app. And so, kind of the question is, how many are going to stop doing what they're doing and switch to this, and then how they're looking at how would they then divide that cost up amongst members, and would they do a consortium buy, or would each library just be on their own to do this? So it's still in development, is what I would say, in terms of determining whether it's, put in place and available to us to use.
Gotcha.
Just real quick, I wanted to comment again on our positive trend with our circulation statistics. It's amazing how quickly and voraciously we are bouncing back. So I thought that was really nice to see.
Yeah, it was also
Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
it's interesting to see the virtual program numbers skyrocketing, and it'll be interesting to see post-COVID if we ever get to that point. Do we want to continue doing this much or this kind of virtual programming, because it does reach out to a lot of people that wouldn't otherwise come to the library. So I was going to comment also, but I was muted. Sorry. Back on the app question. I noticed in that video that there was a statistic that 80% of the time that people spend on their cell phones on the internet is spent on apps, and I know that's,
Yeah.
I find that myself too, that I'm much more likely to click on the app than to open Google Chrome and start typing in a website. So I would fully support at least looking into how much that would cost us.
Yeah,
Younger generation.
I'm hoping we get at least some scale of magnitude costs on it before we're done with the budget. And if not, we want to include some money in there so that, when it does become available, we would have the option to decide to do that.
Good.
We know we know we want one.
Okay.
Yeah, I had similar comments on the mobile app, and then to Christina in terms of the dashboard, seeing visits and checkouts starting to trend back up. I mean, it was all real encouraging. Even things like having the book drop back at Randall Oaks and not having to quarantine. I mean, it's starting to feel like things are flowing a little bit more like usual. I also wanted the compliment I had was the one patron who did the genealogy history, and Sean helped, and they were so happy. As I was reading that, I was thinking, like, that would make a really nice testimonial if you guys haven't already to put on social media and then maybe even like in the newsletter or something, because we probably have a lot of patrons that don't even know that's something they could do at the library with assistance of somebody who's really skilled and knowledgeable like Sean. So that was, as I was reading that, I was like, oh, that could be a really nice testimonial that we kind of plugged to tout, you know, all the different types of services that are available. So.
I agree with you, Brian.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yep. Anything else? I don't really have anything else to update y'all on.
Does anyone have any questions for Roxanne at this point?
Mike Tennis here, not a question, but just a suggestion. Today was supposed to be certification day for all newly elected officials, local officials, and on the library's radar for outreach, I would advocate that all the newly elected officials be congratulated and establish some initial contact with all the various bodies within the township library district.
Yeah, we generally do that as soon as they're, once they're seated, because they don't all have, sometimes it's hard to figure out how to reach them until that's happened, until they've been given an official email address. We definitely make those contacts, and we'll be making those contacts as people are seated in their positions.
Roxanne, one of the ways that you might be able to reach some of the people is the League of Women Voters had a lot of candidate forums, and
Okay.
Carol Graham headed that initiative, and she might be a person to reach out to just to get contact information.
Okay. Thank you.
Good point though, Mike. Anyone else? Any questions or comments on Roxanne's reports? Hearing none, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Before I ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda, I'd like to know if there are any items any trustee would like to be left out of the initial consent agenda motion. Hearing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items A1A through A1J. May I have such a motion, please?
Mike Tennis, so move.
Second, please.
Nikki seconds.
Nikki, second. Okay, we never had discussion on consent agenda, so could we have move right to the roll call vote, please?
Dave,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Nikki is yes. Christina,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes. Okay, we have no unfinished business. Well, with the director search, but we've already touched on that. So let's move right on to the new business. Item C1. May I have a resolution to approve, a motion to approve resolution 2021-02 honoring Brian Lindholm. May I have such a motion?
So moved. Dave Nutt.
Second, please.
Mike Tennis, second.
Mike Dennis. Okay, this is a resolution honoring Brian for his term of service, 8 years with us. Nikki, as secretary, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution 2021-02 honoring Brian Lindholm. Whereas Brian Lindholm ably served as trustee of the Fox River, I always have a hard time with that, I'm so sorry. Fox River Valley Public Library District from June 2013 through April 2015. And whereas Brian Lindholm served as treasurer of the library district from May 2015 through April 2021. And whereas Brian Lindholm served as liaison in various roles, including citizens input, community action, and community engagement. And whereas Brian Lindholm demonstrated exceptional financial acumen and played a pivotal role in improving fiscal responsibility. And whereas Brian Lindholm was instrumental in setting long-range plans for the library district, including library expansion, due diligence in potential land acquisition and building options for a permanent West Side facility, extension of lease space for a temporary West Side facility, renovation planning for the East Side facility, and whereas Brian Lindholm worked tirelessly to provide information and support to the Library Board of Trustees in an effort towards full transparency in financial reporting, and whereas Brian Lindholm advocated for good stewardship of library district property and service to the community, providing oversight and strategic and long-term planning, including hiring a library director. And whereas Brian Lindholm gave oversight to modification of library services and programs to comply with safe opening guidelines during an unprecedented service disruption, which brought home delivery of library materials, license plate renewals, elimination of some late fees, expanded notary public service, and USDA free meal services to the community. Therefore, be it resolved that in recognition and appreciation of his service to the Fox River Valley Public Library District, the Board of Trustees, on behalf of the residents, staff, and themselves, present Brian this resolution, and be it further resolved that on this, the 20th day of April, 2021, this resolution be presented to him and that its contents be spread upon the minutes of this organization.
Thank you, Nikki. That's the resolution. Does anyone have any comment on the resolution?
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Brian, thank you. You did a yeoman's job as trustee and especially as treasurer. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
When we were actually in person, I used to sit there in awe because I sat next to Brian and he had everything underlined and highlighted through the reports and everything. And to me, it was like a foreign language. So I am so grateful for the work you did. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I've enjoyed working with all of you, and it's kind of bittersweet to have the last meeting here, but I'm sure that Matt, Marianne, and whoever else comes in my place will do a great job too. And time to give somebody else a chance. But it's been a great experience. So thank you guys all very much.
Brian, Mike Tennis here. I have one question that could you give us an estimate how many checks you signed in the past 8 years?
But I might need a few minutes, Mike, to even come up with a good estimate. This is like a tough interview question, like I'm interviewing at Google or something, right?
It was like you had to fill out mortgage paperwork every single meeting.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is true.
Well, you will be missed.
Okay, thank you.
No question. Any other comments before we vote? Okay, Nikki, may we have a roll call vote on the resolution?
Dave,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Brian, you gonna vote for yourself?
Yes.
Attaboy.
Nikki is yes. Christina
Yes.
and Richard.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Brian. Well deserved, well deserved. Okay, moving on to item C2. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2021-03 honoring Mike Tennis?
I so move that we honor Mike Tennis with resolution C2.
Okay, that's Chris with the motion.
Chris.
A second, please.
I'll second.
Nikki seconded. Okay, this is resolution honoring Mike for his support and his tenure as a board member. Mike, before we take a vote, I'd like to say thank you. You oftentimes made us stop and think about what we were doing, and I think that made us a better board because we considered a lot more things than we initially thought we needed to. And I thank you very much for that. That you kept us grounded, my friend.
Thank you.
I'd like to add too that I often felt like we didn't even need an auditor as long as we had Mike on board. So
Yes.
When I first found out Mike wasn't running again, I sent him an email because got big shoes to fill. I am constantly amazed at the history you bring, and because of your representation on other boards, so much you have presented us with is so very relevant to what we do in our positions, and I really appreciate what you brought to the table, Mike.
Thank you.
Yes, Mike, you forced me to look at things differently sometimes, and that was great. Thank you.
It's important.
It is.
Very much is.
Truly.
I agree with it.
I felt very confident, man. You were going to find if there was something wrong with the numbers. That impresses me. Like, that whole number thing is not mine. So I was always very confident that, and that you were going to double check everything, so that was very appreciated.
I agree with everything that you guys just said. The other thing, Mike, as I was reading this, I thought you had been on the board longer because you were so involved even before you were a board member. You came to so many board meetings as a member of the public. You were so involved on that Citizens Advisory Committee. So even if you're only a board member 4 years, I feel like you've been heavily involved in the library far longer than that. So you leave, you leave quite an imprint.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Nikki, would you please read the resolution honoring Mike?
With pleasure. Resolution 2021-03 honoring Michael J. Tennis. Whereas Mike Tennis demonstrated support for the library district prior to becoming a trustee in promotion and support for the 2016 referendum, serving on the Citizen Task Force, and whereas Mike Tennis ably served as trustee of the Fox River Valley Public Library District from May 2017 through April 2021, and whereas Mike Tennis served as liaison in various roles, including community engagement and facilities, and whereas Mike Tennis was instrumental in setting long-range plans for the library district, including library expansion, due diligence in exploring options for a permanent West Side facility, extension of lease space for a temporary West Side facility, renovation planning for the East Side facility, and whereas Mike Tennis worked tirelessly to provide information and support to the Library Board of Trustees in an effort towards full transparency and fiscal responsibility, and whereas Mike Tennis played a pivotal role in strategic and long-term planning, including hiring of a library director, and whereas Mike Tennis advocated for good stewardship of library district property and resources and service to the community, and whereas Mike Tennis gave oversight to modification of library services and programs to comply with safe opening guidelines during an unprecedented service disruption, which brought home delivery of library materials, license plate renewals, elimination of some late fees, expanded notary public service, and USDA free meal services to the community. Therefore, be it resolved that in recognition and appreciation of his service to the Fox River Valley Public Library District, the Board of Trustees, on behalf of the residents, staff, and themselves, present Mike this resolution, and be it further resolved that on this, the 20th day of April, 2021, this resolution be presented to him and that its contents be spread upon the minutes of this organization.
Thank you, Nikki. Before we take a vote, any last comments for Mike?
Thank you, Mike. What are you going to do with your spare time? Are you running for something else? Are you doing something else? Or are you just going to hang out with the grandkids?
Now that I'm fully vaccinated, it seems that's all I do is grandkids stuff.
Well, you can always come to library board meetings.
You might see me at a few.
I fully expect to, Mike. I fully expect to. Okay, Nikki, may we have a roll call vote, please, on this resolution?
Dave.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
Mike.
Of
Abstain.
course.
Brian.
Yes.
Nikki is yes. Christina.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Michael. Moving on to item C3. May I have may I have a motion to approve resolution 2021-04 honoring Nikki Kuhlman?
I move to adopt resolution 2021-04 honoring Nikki Kuhlman.
I second it, Chris Evans.
Chris seconded. I told Nikki I wouldn't ask her to read her own resolution. So I've asked Christina to read it, but before we read it, I would just like to say thank you, Nikki. You've been a wonderful trustee and an outstanding secretary.
Thank you.
You've maintained the records beautifully, organized at our security box, and got all that stuff in order, which was much needed. And you've just done a wonderful job. Thank you.
Big shoes to fill, Nikki.
Yes.
And it's been an honor to serve with you on this board as well. Your empathy and your perspective have been wonderful.
Thank you.
I have known Nikki personally on a social level and a personal level, and as a library trustee, and I just have to say that all of the things that you're all saying about her are true in every aspect and avenue of her life. Nikki is she's an amazing friend. She is so organized, and she is just always ready to go and always prepared, and just a great person to work with all around. But Nikki, honestly, you talked me into being a member of the Board of Trustees, and then you leave? Give me a break. Thanks, Nikki.
I'm leaving in good hands. And I just want to say how proud I am to have represented our district with this amazing staff. I'm just blown away by what you all do. And then my fellow board members, thank you so much. And those that are remaining, I know you'll take good care of the library.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No, just
Okay,
say,
Christina, would you please? Yeah.
I have one last thing. So Nikki, I'd say it's been a pleasure, and I've enjoyed getting to know you. Yeah, your warmth, your generosity, all that comes through like every meeting. And the other thing I was thinking is this feels wrong to be doing this over Zoom. We should all be going to get a drink together without any condition. So this damn pandemic foils things again here, right?
Yeah, when we can be all together, we could meet for a beverage.
All right.
Until then, I'll just drink my water.
We'll hold you to that.
Yeah.
One last comment, Nikki, from Mike Tennis. Having joined you reviewing minutes, I've never met anybody that got so enthusiastic and so engaged going over those minutes. Thank you for that effort.
Okay. Christina, would you read the resolution, please?
Resolution 2021-04 honoring Nikki Kuhlman. Whereas Nikki Kuhlman demonstrated support for the library district prior to becoming a trustee and promotion and support for the 2016 referendum, serving on the Citizen Task Force, and whereas Nikki Kuhlman ably served as trustee of the Fox River Valley Public Library District from May 2017 through August 2018. And whereas Nikki Kuhlman served as secretary of the library district from September 2018 through April 2021. And whereas Nikki Kuhlman served as liaison in various roles, including bylaws and policy. And whereas Nikki Kuhlman was instrumental in setting long-range plans for the library district, including library expansion, due diligence, and exploring options for a permanent West Side facility, extension of leased space for a temporary West Side facility, renovation planning for the East Side facility, and whereas Nikki Kuhlman worked tirelessly to provide information and support to the Library Board of Trustees in her effort toward full transparency and excellence in record keeping. And whereas Nikki Kuhlman advocated for good stewardship of library district property and service to the community, providing oversight in strategic and long-range planning and hiring of a library director. And whereas Nikki Kuhlman gave oversight to modification of library services and programs to comply with safe opening guidelines during an unprecedented service disruption, which brought home delivery of library materials, license plate renewals, elimination of some late fees, expanded notary public service, and USDA free meal services to the community. Whereas Nikki Kuhlman continues to support literacy with a Little Free Library, therefore be it resolved that in recognition and appreciation of her service to the Fox River Valley Public Library District, the Board of Trustees, on behalf of the residents, staff, and themselves, present Nikki this resolution. And be it further resolved that on this, the 20th day of April 2021, this resolution be presented to her and that its contents be spread upon the minutes of this organization.
Thank you, Nikki. Christina. Anyone have any last comments about this resolution before we vote? Chris?
I love that it has the Little Free Library in there.
Yeah. Well,
that was great. That made me, like, when I read it, it made me smile. Like, it just made me really happy, so.
Certainly so. Okay. Nikki, you're still secretary, so I'm going to ask you to take the roll call vote.
Sure. Dave?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
I'm going to vote for myself since it's the last one, so I'm a yes. Christina?
Yes.
And Richard?
Yes. Well, thank you very much. And to amplify on what Brian said, under normal circumstances after the meeting, we'd go out and tip a couple, but this pandemic, it's changed a lot of things, but we'll just keep that as a, we'll call that continuing business.
There you go.
When the time is right. Also, another thing that this pandemic has done to us, normally we would have these resolutions signed and we would present them to the trustees in person at our meeting, but that's not going to happen. So we will arrange to get these signed and we'll make sure that they get delivered to you guys. Because I think you deserve to have it delivered, not just put in the mailbox or something.
Thank you.
So I guess that's it. Any last comments?
Could I share
Richard, I
something?
do have, under board discussion, I have
Okay.
some comment.
Sure, go ahead. I was going to ask for some. Go ahead.
Being a numbers guy, I did visit the Kane County Clerk's site to take a look at the status of the tax levy. And there is a tax computation report that has been posted. It's not the final tax computation report, but I think it's fairly rare to change. And there's some information I think the board might enjoy hearing. The levy amount is going up $145,000, which is a 4.2% increase. Now the CPI is at cap things at 2.3% increase, but there was a significant increase in the equalized assessed value of 123 million, which is a 6.1% increase. Primarily, the increases were driven by new property, $30 million in new property. Also, the Carpentersville, and Roxanne has mentioned this a number of times in the past, the Carpentersville recovery of TIF equalized assessed value, that added over 7 million. So the 4.1% of the library unfortunately, 4.1% of the library levy on EAV goes to municipalities for 23 years. And that TIF increment grew to over $92 million. So I estimate that'd be the impact of that is taking $155,000 annually from library funds and shifting them to municipalities for their TIF districts. So just thought you might find that of interest, but in particular, it was encouraging to see the new property as the driver for $145,000 increase in levy.
That's great. Mike, do you have any idea, does it include those new apartment complexes that we've seen in our area?
Talking to Mike Belak, they do a percentage of completion basis for the EAV application. So I believe some of the Seasons apartment development next to the rec center is in there. And I would expect all the Canterfields development is in there now on the east side of 31, and probably all of the water development is in there. So there should be a little bit of a kicker with the Seasons property that's still under construction. The industrial property was a big factor. Probably the biggest factor. Residential construction is still very, very low.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mike. It's good information. Any other comments from anyone before we call it a night?
I would like to just make a couple of comments.
Sure.
First of all, it has been such an interesting activity for me to work with Christina and Roxanne. And if I do say so myself, we make a pretty good team and we've worked really well together. But I also want to say how very, very fortunate we are to have Roxanne. I have learned so much from her, and just working with her, you're so knowledgeable and so ready on the mark with the information we need and where to go and what to do. And we are so lucky that you were willing to step back into this position while we look for an executive director. And while I'm talking about how lucky we are, I just want to thank Karen for making everything so easy. The economic statement, wading through that, you know, I read it and it's like, I'm not even sure what they're asking me, and your little cheat sheets made it all so very easy, and you make everything easy. So you two have a great team in there, and thank you both.
You're absolutely welcome, for sure, for sure. And the economic interest statement, I think the PowerPoint on that credit goes to Lauren, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yep. She really put that together and made that easy. So, but yeah, Karen does a great job, you know, and will be a huge asset to a new director coming in.
I just said that to Roxanne today, how lucky a new executive director would be to have Karen on her team, or his team, sorry.
And the rest of our, you know, fabulous management team and staff as well.
Yeah.
Well, she certainly makes being secretary much easier, so.
Absolutely.
Marge used to call that, Marge.
Very lucky to have Fran with us.
Well, thank you. Marge
wouldn't be able to do it without you.
Marge Scold, former board president, used to call it the Karen feeding of the board.
Yes.
Oh, that's cute. Karen feeding of the board. Oh, that's
part of our job.
Yeah, I agree. Karen makes everything easy. Okay, any other comments before we call it a night? Anything from our new trustees before we close out?
No, just happy to be on board.
I do have an announcement for the new trustees. Just keep an eye out. We're going to be issuing you an email address. Outgoing trustees technically serve until the third Monday in May. So if the library did need to hold an emergency board meeting for some reason, we would still be calling upon you prior to the May meeting. But we'll be setting up the new trustees now that the vote has been certified. We'll be setting you up with email addresses, and you'll be hearing from our IT department about that. And we'll make sure that you can be prepared to hit the ground running in May. And you'll also get some emails from me.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else?
Richard, one final comment. I wish everybody, please be safe. Anecdotally, I've heard that the COVID virus among the young people especially is spreading. CMS is beginning to get hit fairly hard, so be careful out there.
Well said. I hope people don't take their guard down. Don't let the guard down too soon. We don't want to get back into the mess we're trying to get out of.
No.
Okay, with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. May I have such a motion, please?
So
we
moved,
adjourn.
Brian.
Brian, second, please.
Second, Dave?
Dave seconded. Okay, may we have a roll call vote on adjournment, please?
Dave,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Nikki, yes. Christina,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes, we are now adjourned. I have it at 7:57 p.m. Good night, everyone.
Good night.